All right, welcome back to Currency 365. All right, so the G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting press release. Okay, so September 4th and 5th, 2015, the general information, the G20 finance ministers and the central bank governors meeting will be held, okay, in at Ankara. I don't know where that's at the Sheraton Hotel. Okay, a lot of these governments, central bank meetings are held at the Sheraton Hotel for some reason. I don't know if Sheraton has a contract with the central banks or what. But yeah, let's see if Iraq is shows up for Iraq, okay, or does Dr. Shabibi show up? We know tomorrow is Iraq's year mark, okay. So and this meeting is on the 4th and 5th. So let's see who shows up as the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, if it's Iraq or if it's Shabibi. Now, this probably will be Iraq, might show up, unfortunately, but you never know. Let's see if we get a surprise. All right, so we hope it's Shabibi so we can get this thing over with. We know if when Shabibi gets back in office, it will take maybe anywhere between 1 week to 4 weeks to drop to bring out the lower denoms, to drop the lower denoms, and to get this thing going. Okay, he needs the laws, and he needs to make sure everything is good to go with security, which would be good to go if he does come back. So, and he'll drop the lower denoms, and he'll get this thing rolling. Okay, so they are far behind. Jabari already stated that 2 months ago that they should have done this a long time ago and dropped in the lower denoms, which stops the money laundering. Okay, that's part of the anti-money laundering, I believe. So they need to get the anti-money laundering law completed because it will allow them to drop the lower denoms as well, because that is basically the anti-money laundering, the lower denoms, because they have the high security features to stop money laundering, okay, and counterfeiting. Okay, so yeah, let's move on. Reveal the swamp of the corruption of customs staff. All right, so here goes more corruption in Iraq, and now we're seeing that the people that are actually on the staff of the custom terrorists at the borders and stuff, 75% of them, of the 75 of the revenue of the custom tariffs or the port revenues went to whales, basically corrupt government people, high-ranking people. Okay, so this is embarrassing. And this is why they need the anti-money laundering law once again. So the anti-money laundering law deals with the tariffs as well and the borders. Okay, as long as with the CBI auctions and the lower denoms. I mean, it deals with a lot of things. Okay, this is why I say it's the most important law. Now, of course, the National Guard law is also important for unity and to bring things together and all types of stuff like that, so people can rule their own armies and stuff in each provinces and stuff like that. But for us, because we hold the currency and we're not investors in like companies and stuff, then the anti-money laundering law is our number one law because it deals with the currency that we hold, okay? And we cannot allow that to be blacklisted. Now, the anti-money laundering law was read one time, and that was last week. Let me get the date. That was on the 24th, was the first reading of the anti-money laundering. Okay, they were supposed to read it on Sunday, August 30th. I didn't see any news of that happening. Okay, so they have 14 days to read it that second time. So that means by Monday the 7th, the anti-money laundering law has to be read, the second reading, and then by the 21st. Let's see. Yep, and by the 20th, they got another 14 days after that, which will be the 21st of September. The anti-money laundering law has to be completed. Okay. I think that's how it goes. Let me see. Let me actually do the count here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, yeah. By the 21st, I believe. Was it the 20th? I think the 21st of no. Hold up, I'm going the wrong way. I mean, I'm looking at July. Okay, it's still the 21st on here. Okay, so by Monday the 21st, the anti-money laundering law should be voted, or maybe it's the 19th because they gave it 28 days and not 30, but that's still 14 days after. So by the 21st, the anti-money laundering law should be voted on and passed, okay? And that should help us out there with the borders. Maybe they can then they can lock down all the things they need to lock down for money laundering. They can also secure the borders better and for tariffs and people are talking about the bonds. Okay, CBI has extended the bonds sales through September, so everybody's now saying, okay, well, if they're going to extend the domestic bonds through September, then we're not going to see a revaluation in September. Then there goes September. Where let's look for October. Okay, but what if they come out and say, okay, we're not getting any sales, let's extend it through October? You see what I'm saying? Then you got to go to November, and then if they say in November, then and no one's still buying the bonds, then you go to December. It will never end. Okay, so. I think they're doing that just to cover themselves. It also keeps speculators away, okay? If they come out right away and say there's nothing going on in September, okay, we're going to be selling domestic bonds to the 29th, then speculators go away, okay? People can then go to other things and say, okay, Iraq's not doing anything with their currency in September. So that's a smart move for them, okay? It doesn't mean that nothing's going to happen in September, because who says that their bonds are going to go all the way through the 29th of September? I mean, they could sell. Somebody can buy all their bonds this Saturday, and they will never let you know that their domestic bonds are done. You're going to think that they're still selling it to the 29th, and then boom, they can revalue and then launch the international bonds at any time. You see what I'm saying? So just because they tell you that they're going to September 29th for domestic bonds, but once those domestic bonds are all bought, it's $2 billion, right? So once the $2 billion domestic bonds are bought, then they can switch it on, drop lower the noms, bring Dr. Shabib can come back, bring lower the noms and everything, and they can surprise the crap out of you because you believe that, they're going to September 29 to sell the bonds. You see what I'm saying? So they're doing it to cover their butts, but they're also doing it to keep speculators away, okay? And that's a great move, okay? This is going to be a surprise. It's not going to be something that everybody knows. Now, look, they could come out and say, September 15th, we're going to stop selling the domestic bonds, and then we're going to start international bonds on the 22nd. Well, then if they do that, you would know between the 15th and 22nd, they got to revalue the currency and drop the lower denoms and launch the global market economy, because they can't do that without the international, without and selling international bonds. They have to have a global market economy. So you would already know the time frame of the revaluation. They can't give that away, okay? And this is why when they were asking J.P. Morgan and all these banks about the international bonds, they had no comment, because they cannot give away when they're going to do this thing. It's going to be a mega surprise. It could happen on a Friday night, could happen on a Saturday morning, could happen on a Sunday. Most likely it probably will happen on a Monday morning, okay? Early Monday morning. Or maybe early Sunday morning. We do not know, okay? But they're not going to tell you when this thing's going to happen. So the best way to do it will be, we're selling domestic bonds to the 29th. They're not going to tell you when the domestic bonds are actually finished and all bought up, because once the domestic bonds are bought up, it's time for the international bond. But they can't do the international bonds until they have a rate for the international bonds and they launch and go back to a global market economy. You see what I'm saying? So it's a smart move, okay? So it says here that, let's see, back to these corruption of the custom sites. It says that 25% of customs revenue go to the state treasury, and 25 go to the custom revenues of the state treasury, and 75% go to large whales from the pockets of corrupted officials. Oh, if that don't make you sick to your stomach to be an Iraqi citizen, I don't know what will. You better, once this news comes out, and it's already out now, you probably will see more marching. Yeah, and they actually were marching because this came out on August 30th, so they have been marching and demanding, and that's why they were at the building trying to get that one guy out, the leader of the judicial system, out of there, because it's just so many corrupt people. Oh man, it's so sad that people can be this corrupt, man, and this greedy, and watch citizens crumble and beg and starve to death and die. I mean, it wow. I don't know how you get to that point as a human being, but it is what it is. Some people aren't meant to, be or live the way that others live. Okay, some people are meant to be bad. Okay, that's just how it is. The yin and the yang. You got to have a balance on this earth. So we have a lot of people that are one way, and you got a lot of people that are other way. Okay. So let's see how America can link its currency back to the gold standard. Let's see. It's Judy Sheldon, PhD, closed out the conversation, or let's see, with Jackson Hole Summit this past weekend by offering a practical pathway to restore the U.S. dollar as the gold-backed currency without economic disruption by having the Fed pledge about 7% of the American gold in Fort Knox as collateral to issue gold convertible treasury bonds. Now, who says we have gold in Fort Knox? Last time people have been talking about Fort Knox, people are saying there's no gold in Fort Knox. And if there was gold in Fort Knox, we would all know that. But a lot of people are saying there's no gold in Fort Knox. Okay, now there's probably gold that's been stolen, and gold from other countries that are in America. Okay, but the American gold, we haven't seen any American gold in Fort Knox. Now, if it's there, they need to bring it out and let people see it. We should be able to see the gold that's in Fort Knox. This shouldn't be something that's hidden from Americans and hidden from the world. Okay, and I mean it's gold. Okay, if you show your debt, you show your assets, show your gold. And so the problem is that America's not showing their gold for some reason. They're showing all the gold they own, they hold for other countries, but America hasn't showed how much gold they have, and they're not showing their hand for some strange reason. And I think a lot of people are saying because we don't have any gold. Okay, so let's see. It says this is especially true if that social policy primarily benefits crony capitalists. Okay, I'm just reading the highlight parts. Let's see. She advocated moving back to the gold standard to curtail dysfunctional monetary policies that rely on the whims of the group of establishment insiders. Yep, inside trading insiders. Yep. Let's see. Another important part says to counter concerns that such a move would cause serious short-term economic disruption, she suggests that the free market paid towards sound money could be forged through a set of painless intermediate steps that would involve no economic risk. Okay. She also said Shelton believes that the beauty of the gold convertible treasury bonds in the marketplace is that it would quickly move up in price as regular treasury bonds fall every time the Fed tried to finance deficit spending on other games that debase the currency that would alert the public and make it wildly difficult for Congress and the Fed to engage in such actions. And then another part, she says, a true gold standard, a unified currency, is indeed consistent with free trade. All right. So now let's get into dinar stuff again. It says economic parliamentary. Okay. The investment law will pass next week. Boy, I think we've been talking about this investment law for darn near 4 months. Okay. Why isn't this investment law passing? Well, because you really need to have something to pass it. Okay, first of all, Maliki's people do not want to pass this law. Okay, so now you're saying that you have enough confidence that Maliki people are resigning, they're out of here, and now this law can pass so you can have some foreign investments. Well, also, you should have a global market economy when you pass this investment law. You should also want to have a nice currency when you pass this law and not a worthless currency, okay? Also, you might want to launch the private sector when you pass this law as well. Okay, so maybe those are some of the reasons why this law has been delayed for the last 4 months, okay? So it says the investment law will be passed next week. I know a lot of you guys are saying no way, no how, because they still have things that they have to do to get to the global stage before they can pass this investment law, which is true. And so we don't know how this is going to even happen. But let's see. Najibi and Najib. Okay, we heard this name before. Okay, it said that the investment law will pass through parliamentary session next week. Okay, she said that the investment law does not have any politic dispute. Okay, and that there will be the House of Representatives to pass this next week, indicating that some members of the economy want to have investment. However, the federal government is not, however, investment authorities in the provinces, and that or otherwise the Constitution. I have no clue what that means. Okay, this is translated wrong, and we don't know what that means. All we know that they're supposed to have the investment law in Parliament next week. Okay, and they're trying to pass it next week. Okay, let's see. And it says it showed that in the event of insistence pass the investment law, and that the investment is, however, the federal government, we will stand against this law. Oh my goodness. Everyone is calling for there to be broad powers. However, the provisional administration adding that the law will represent a real breakthrough in the way of fact investment in the development of Iraq. Oh my goodness gracious. So they're saying that people are stepping in to prevent this law. Of course, Maliki and his people. Why don't you just say their names, okay? Stop sugarcoating everything. It's Maliki and his people are stopping this law because it will bring fruit to the Iraqi people. Point blank and simple. We don't need to sugarcoat nothing here, okay? It says still the investment law number 13 of 2006. I can't believe it. In 2006, they still can't pass this law. When the Economic and Investment Commission is discussed it, study after it was read a first reading and is expected to be voted on during the next parliamentary session. Man, if they bring it, here's the thing. If they bring it to Parliament, I don't know if they're going to be voting on it or they're going to be reading it again for the first time, then reading it again for a second time, and then voting on it. I think they just need to vote on it. They amended it like 8 times. They just need to vote on it, okay? So it's not under the guidelines of the 28 days, okay? Because the laws that were before that law took place, they don't count. So the National Guard, all the important laws do not count except for the anti-money laundering law, because that came after they voted on 28 days that they must pass a law once it's in Parliament's hands, okay? So the investment law can go on as long as it wants. It's not restricted to 28 days or anything like that. They just need to vote on it, okay? So let's see. That's about it. Says the House of Representatives passed in 2006 the investment law, which was said at the time that it would open the doors wide open for foreign investments. So there you have it. Okay, so this law is going to open the doors wide open for foreign investors to pour trillions of dollars into Iraq. Okay, so that's why the Maliki and his people do not want this law passed, okay? So it's going to flourish Iraq, okay? So, and that's about it, man. Shout out to everybody, man. And I hope everybody has a blessed, beautiful day. Peace, everybody.